All right, let's go on to another one. Thirdly, I want to show you how to make a fried razor clam. Now this clam, here are the basic devices that you need if you're going to be a serious shell fish eater. This is a clam knife. This one with a guard on it is an oyster knife. You see that, so that you don't hurt yourself on the shell. The clam knife, however, is a little bit longer because you need to grab the clam, and once you get the knife inside, you see, you need to cut off the meat from both sides, so that and then you do it on the bottom. See, on the top first, then on the bottom, so when you open them up, the meat is free of the shell. Now, this works great if you know what you're doing. I'm not even close. A good clam shucker can have these out, and the shell will be absolutely clean inside, you see? Now, that's how you're going to do it with a little clam. When you use a big clam, such as this razor clam, why, of course, it's very, very simple to simply cut the meat from the shell. Now, I must tell you that the reason that these clams look so tired is because they've been frozen. Nothing else on the counter today is frozen, but this clam has been. This razor clam is very, very rare now in the Northwest due to an enormous parasite that has hit the West Coast beaches, and it breaks everybody's heart. It's not that we have over-clammed. I know we have dug too many, but this particular clam is in trouble not because of our over-clamming, but because of a parasite, and they began to die out, and we thought it was the end of them. Wouldn't it be awful to tell your grandchildren about something that you loved as a child and say, I'm sorry, but we don't see it anymore in the world? That's happening with a lot of foods, and this clam is going to be one of those. But the parasite has pooped out somehow, and the clams are coming back, so I have just a few to show you. I have some that I've already cleaned, and I'm going to simply put them in flour and egg wash. This is what my mother used to do when I was a kid. Oh, those were good times. We still cook together. I'll do something that you've always wanted to do on television, right? Joseph, ever get on? Hi, Mom. She's the one who taught me to enjoy clams. My younger sister, Judy, hated clams. And I used to tease her. I'd make clam pancakes. You ever done that? None of the flour now. Clam pancakes, and then I'd put them on the table and tell her they were regular pancakes, and she'd love them. And then later on, I'd tease her. I was terrible when I was a little kid. And I'd tell her they were really clam pancakes. She'd tell me she didn't like them. Of course she liked them. Just take a can of clams and throw them into your pancake batter. Fry them up. Very good. All right, flour. Let's do one more here of these beautiful razor clams. This is a great treat in the Pacific Northwest. You find a plate of these on a menu in a restaurant, and you know it's better to just simply buy the restaurant. It's cheaper. Much cheaper. These are just so expensive. All right, let me get my hands cleaned off here, and we'll put some butter in the pan. I'm going to fry these in butter, egg, and flour, and a tiny bit of seasoning. A little bit of salt and pepper will be plenty. We may need to add some olive oil to the pan, too, because I don't want to burn the butter. Do you remember that when you use butter, one, you're eating a lot of cholesterol. You want to try and cut down on that, but the flavor of butter cannot be equaled by any kind of phony margarine, so just forget about it. But you can raise the temperature of the butter in terms of its ability to take heat by adding a little bit of peanut oil or olive oil. You've heard me talk about that before. All right, the clams go into the pan. We certainly don't want to cook these very long. They'll be very tender if we just don't overdo. Sit down there, you. Come on, friend. Okay, you'll get your way. Enough with the razor clams. And then I'll show you how to fry the small butter clam or manila clam. Oh, I want to put some salt and pepper in that, too. There we are. Stuff's all over my hands. It's great fun to... Oh, that's great. They're smelling so good. I put just a tiny bit of salt on these. And, of course, a bit... No, I don't use a salt shaker. I never have. It confuses me because I'm never quite sure what I have in my hands, and I don't want to bother... There. I don't want to bother measuring, so I just measure with my fingers. You can't do that in a shaker. You can't tell what's in there. Okay, enough of that one. We'll turn those in just a moment. In the meantime, let's go on to the regular butter clam, or you can use a manila clam, the Japanese clam, and we're going to bread those in cracker crumbs. You can use these old Vermont crackers are wonderful, but I don't know if you're going to find them anywhere in the country except Vermont. They're from the old Vermont baking. What does he call himself? Excuse me, let me look. The Vermont something. Here, it's the Vermont store, the old Vermont store. And the place has been there for years and years and years. The Vermont Country Store. Delicious crackers, but they don't have quite so much salt. However, today I'm going to use a batch of regular cracker meal that you can find in your supermarket. And I'm going to do nothing with these. Whoops, come here, you. Do nothing with the clams except to bread them in cracker and then fry them in butter. Doesn't that sound great? It's going to be. Let me get a burner going here. I found a new stick the other day, for lighting my stove. And you know what? It barely works. The old one that we dropped in the sink was much better. Alas, alas. See how my clams are doing, huh? Oh, they're coming up. They're beginning to open. Don't eat clams that were open when you bought them. Now, that means they were dead. And don't eat clams that don't open after you cook them. That means that they were sick or they were full of mud. You see? So I hope you understand that. Let me turn my razor clams, frying simply in an egg wash. And an egg wash means 2 eggs and several tablespoons of water. There we go. Oh, those will be done in just a second. Smith, don't overdo the egg clams. I mean the fried clams. That's terrible. All right. Now, in our other pan, I'm going to bread. Where did I put my clams? Here we are. I'm going to bread some of these beautiful little butter clams. They're very small, you see. Butter clams, or, of course, you can use the manila clam. I think these are manilas. We'll just lightly bread them with cracker crumb. That should be enough. And then we're going to fry them. Excuse me. Losing my towel here. I need that. You see I'm not wiping my hands on my apron? Would you stop writing those letters? Actually, I do love your letters. You know that. But the letter about the don't wipe your hands on your apron really cracks me up, and I'm still getting them. I told you several times I can't stop because that's the way I cook. All right, these will melt down. Again, I'm going to put a tiny bit of olive oil or peanut oil in the butter to keep it from burning. See, olive oil burns at a much higher temperature. As a matter of fact, it has to get very hot, so you really don't have to worry about it. I'm going to change burn. Look at the clams. They're done. The big ones are done. I'll get them off the burner. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at them. They're done now. Let me serve these. Quickly, quickly, quickly before we lose out. I don't want to burn them. There we are. If you overcook these, they have a tendency to be a little bit tough. You can understand that. Some of you tell me that you don't like squid, and you know I love squid. So the problem is that you're cooking the squid too long. You don't want to do that. Let me get a lemon wedge on these. That's how you would serve them. Oh, these are terrific. One of my favorite memories from my childhood. And you understand that in this series, what we're trying to talk about is remembering those dishes that you enjoyed so much as a kid. And this is really one of the classics. Fried razor clams. And don't even ask me to ship you some or talk to you about it because it's not going to happen. You're not going to get any, I'm afraid. All right, the fried clams now. I've simply put them in cracker meal. This is how they're cooked at a place in Tacoma, Washington, called the Harbor Lights. It's run by a wonderful woman, a crazy friend of many, many years. She's just one of those friends that you'd tell anything to because you know you're going to get a laugh, even if it's a bad joke. She's just wonderful. And she's a fine cook and runs a place called Harbor Lights. And I called Lemoyne this morning. And I said, Lemoyne, please, I'm in Chicago. I'm cooking like mad. Give me the secret to your fried clams. And she laughed and she said, nothing but cracker meal and butter. I go in there and have these for lunch with a glass of wine on the side. There we go. I'll turn those in just a minute. Just let them barely brown. We don't want to overdo this. I go into Lemoyne's Harbor Lights and have a plate of these with my lunch and a glass of wine, and because that's it. I don't go work anymore. I go back home and sit around and stare at the computer and read cookbooks, and I don't work much more. It's too delicious.